I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's our regular City Commission meeting. It is Monday, July 9th, 2018. It is now 7 o'clock p.m. If everyone would please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Due to vacations and other unforeseen circumstances, there will be no invocation this evening. And with that, we'll move on to item number 3, roll call. Dina, can you go ahead?
Mayor Hess.
Here.
Commissioners Bianski,
Yes.
Turney,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Cole. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. We are up to item number 4, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Please state your name as well as your address.
Address 304 North Oak, new business. Is this what your work session was on? And what did you do? Did you approve it? Did you just discuss it? What did you do?
Are you talking about A, B, or C, Norma?
All three.
A, no, that was not part of our work session. B, yes, that was our work session. And C, no, that was not. And we will talk about these items individually as we get to them, okay?
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
I would like to.
Okay,
because
yes.
when I listen at home, I'd like to know
Yes, absolutely.
what you're talking
Okay.
about.
And did you pick up papers by the door? There's a little outline, too. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Hey, thank you, Norma. Anyone else for public comments? I want to say thank you to everyone who did come this evening. Thank you. All right. And with that, we will move on to the consent calendar. It has been amended. You should have copies of the amended changes. B was amended. D was amended, just the amount. And we added a word to item G to say approved. Does everyone see that in the red lettering?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I need a motion and support.
I'll make the motion that we approve the amended agenda as is.
Consent calendar.
Consent calendar, excuse me.
I need a second, please.
Support.
Okay. Roll call, please. Oh, Commissioner Vigansky, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask the city to forgive check number 77123, $666.67. That's from the DDA. I'd like that to be forgiven. I make the motion that that be forgiven.
What was the,
Can you give us a little more explanation about that, please?
what's the check number, Dan?
It is 77122. It's the one for $666.67. That's the one made out every month by the DDA to the city for city services. We asked in the budget meeting to forgive that, and it wasn't forgiven at all. And I just figured every month I'd ask to forgive the individual check.
Is that part of the $8,000 that you wanted it to be?
Yes.
Okay, well. Did you ever know what the total amount that the city actually, if they were to bill the DDA, how much it would be besides the $8,000 that they've already forgiven?
Well, the thing about it is the city doesn't bill anybody except for anybody that's got money in the bank. And the DDA, his budget, is a deficit. And we asked the Garden Club to give up some money. The Preservation Society gave up some money. And, actually, they're saying that this money is for plowing the streets. The city gets taxes to plow the streets. And every other committee has all their meetings down here. They have the clerk present. They have the treasurer doing their paperwork. And I don't think it's out of line to ask for that check to be forgiven. I don't know what everybody has against the DDA, but it's part of the city of Buchanan.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
Your Honor, the DDA is a taxing entity, and they have, they're gaining taxes within their district boundaries, and part of that taxes are to make sure that the parking lots and the public ways are secured and safe and clear. And this is a payment that has been agreed to through our budgeting process, and the DDA submits a budget. We've approved the DDA's budget. This was part of our budget. We've approved that, and to this point, try to individually strike different checks without making it a long-term precedent that we are not gaining the taxes from the downtown and the payment from the downtown. We're making all of the citizens pay for something that's a benefit to a small area. And while in general there's an argument, that's why we have a DDA, to capture those dollars. Those dollars otherwise would be coming to the city as a whole. So this is a reflection for services that the DDA cannot procure by contract on their own to take care of these things. So to ask the citizens that do not live in the downtown area to subsidize the downtown residents and businesses beyond what is already happening, I think would be inappropriate and would have long-term ill effects.
Okay.
So I would urge my fellow commissioners to do not vote for that.
Okay, Commissioner Turney?
I'd just like to make a correction. Dan mentioned the deficit. Currently, there's not a deficit. What he's referring to is that their surplus has been dwindling. They're not running in the red. It's just that their surplus is going down. So they're in the black. It's not a deficit. And these are services that the city does for the DDA. Above and beyond that, I believe, Deborah, wasn't there a sheet that Bill sent out showing what the actual cost was if we were to bill everything? Do you have that?
I don't know if I have it here. Let me take a quick look.
Thank you.
It's not that important. The whole point is there's no other committees that are billed. The committees that have money in the bank
Hang
that
on a
bill
minute.
for any of this stuff.
We're going to wait for Deborah to look.
I do not see it here.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
I have a point of order. I
Yes.
don't believe we have a second for his
Yeah,
motion.
is there a second to that motion? Okay, motion fails. Okay, so now we need to get back to our consent calendar. We need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Turney?
Yes.
Commissioner Viancy?
Yes.
Mayor Hess?
Yes. All
Motion
right.
carries.
Thank you very much. We're up to item number 6, reports by departments, committees, and boards. This evening, we'll be hearing from the Joint Water and Sewer Board. Is there someone?
No, I don't, but I would like to ask Commissioner Viancy, do you have anything to report for the Joint Water Sewer Board?
As far as anything in particular?
Just a normal monthly report?
No,
No?
no.
All right.
Am I supposed to have?
Not really.
Okay. All right, then we will, since no one is here to report on that, we'll move on to item 7. It's unfinished business. It's the city manager evaluation, and we are asking to approve a 3% wage increase. Any comments or questions? Commissioner Moore?
I'll make that motion that we approve a 3% wage increase.
Okay. I will
I'll
need a-
support.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Turney?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Viancy?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Mayor Hess?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are on to item number 8, new business. Declare the DPW surplus equipment, and I have a little bit of information regarding that. But actually, maybe, JT Ackerson, could you please join us at the microphone? And I'm going to let you speak about that.
I've addressed this a couple times, actually, with my boss, the city manager, Bill Marks. We have, a long time, we've had 2 pieces of equipment sitting on one side of our building. It's the first one being the leaf loader, the 1987 leaf loader. And in my time here at the Department of Public Works, we used that early on, at least my first couple of years. And during that time, we found that it was consistently broke down. It got to a point where we started trying to make repairs on it because you couldn't find parts on it anymore. We couldn't buy them. We reached out to our vendors. We were constantly in a state of disarray with that unit. For the last 4 years, it hasn't been used. I'll go to number 3 next, and that's the Elgin Street Sweeper. That's a 1991. Another unit that we haven't used in several years. Some time ago, we had it was a gas-filled, propane-filled street sweeper that we sold in California, where they have the emissions issues out there. And in turn, we bought a newer Elgin sweeper, kind of like the one you see the picture of in item 3. That is our primary unit, and that's what we use because the 91 has tons of hydraulic issues. It has rotten hoses on it. Moreover, our tray on that is rusted out. There's just a lot of moving parts, and when moving parts move all the time, and it's made in 1991, things break. That unit hasn't been used in a couple years as well. I added to the chief my second go-around. It's what you see on item number 1 is our old 1997 forestry truck. Well, as you know, this has been a long, drawn-out process, but we've tried to get this repaired. We've had a couple people give it estimates, and really that's a 2-part unit. What you see on it is the boom itself. That's been deemed unsafe, unusable, and unrepairable. And then the truck, the body or the chassis, it's called, is the second part of that unit. And that, too, we just got some estimates on it, just some cursory estimates, and there's already up to $12,000, which exceeds the value of the truck. Even try to ask for that truck to be traded in on a new forestry truck, and no one would take it. Talking this over with Bill Marks, we've come to the conclusion that unit should be sold as parts only. I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to sell that to someone to use as a forestry truck in that manner, being raised in the air and feeling very good with it. So, on those lines, on those 3 items, I'd like to put them online. I'm working with a guy named Andrew. He's with Michigan Gov Deals. Basically, it's eBay online is what it is. It reaches out to different municipalities, different government agencies, and it's a live auction. It's a 7-day auction. We can set what we think it's worth on it. If we don't get that, then we can try to sell it outright or even scrap it ourselves. All 3 of those items is what I'd want to put on the auction. We reach more people. 7 years ago when I started, and then before that, even on the police department side of things, when I ran some auctions, we're only reaching to a few people, and we tend to let things go really, really cheap. And I think we'd get a broader spectrum of what our equipment's worth, so we can get the most we can get back for our taxpayers.
Okay, so in review, we're wanting to dispose of a 1997 forestry truck, a 1987 leaf loader, and a 1991 street sweeper. Is that
That's
correct?
correct,
So if
yes.
people ask, and then if we sell those online, the money will return to the general fund, or do you know? General
Yeah,
fund?
that's more of Julie's department.
Okay.
I know it doesn't go back into my line items as far as maintenance and such,
Yeah,
but
right.
it goes into our surplus at general fund.
Okay, great.
That's what I've learned anyway.
Okay. Before I make a motion, or before someone makes a motion, questions? Commissioner Moore?
I'm ready for the motion.
Okay, go right ahead.
I'll make the motion that the 3 pieces of DPW equipment be deemed surplus and approve the plan for auction either online or otherwise, or scrapping as necessary.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Viancy,
Yes.
Commissioner Turney,
Yes.
Mayor Hess,
Yes,
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to item 8 under new business, letter B, approve adding commercial waste to design plan of the wastewater treatment plant. And were you going to speak about that, or?
You know, I can. I don't have any of that information in front of me. Just through our wastewater operators, through our meetings and our discussions, there was a couple different ways that we could set up our plant during the rebuild. The two options, I'm sure, were presented to you in your packet. I don't have them in front of me.
Yes.
But saying that, there was an A and a B option. There was some pros and cons to both of those options. I
You want
think.
mine?
Well, and I have this to read too while you're looking that over. The possibility of treating commercial wastewater was discussed as a future revenue source for the city that could offset wastewater fees for city residents. The city currently has the majority of the equipment and the infrastructure needed for the treatment of commercial wastewater, but there will need to be some investment in a receiving station and a small utility building to house the required equipment. It was discussed that the cost could be offset through the design decision of the new wastewater treatment plant. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us this evening, we're building a new wastewater treatment plant, and this is the time where we need to make this decision should we want to do this. Anything else you would like to add?
Correct. I think option A was recommended, option number 1. Is that correct? Is that would be to add the additional building site, basically to make our put in use some of our old equipment that we have. It would add to generate a revenue source, maybe operated with fewer people,
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
and it will allow us to house basically all of the leachates, some of the septic haulers that would come in that would dump their RVs, etc. It would allow us that ability to do that.
Yes. Commissioner Attorney?
It was discussed, one of the possibilities, like the Three Oaks problem with the restaurant over there.
Correct.
We would be able to take some of that over to the old leachate.
Correct.
And that's where we would get the extra money, so.
Right. A lot of those wineries and what's being made, produced on those wineries, is it breweries or wineries? One of the other.
It's breweries.
Breweries.
Yes.
It's breweries, sorry. And it would allow like some of our neighbors to actually dump there at a pretty good price increase compared to leachate. It would make it both beneficial to us. It'd give businesses the ability to dump. The con side of that is it may require our licenses we now have to operate under what's called a B license. We may have to go up to an A, which is a 7-year license. It takes
Correct.
employees 7 years to get there. We have one on staff now.
That's correct.
We will have another one on staff. I'm confident of that. If there was any turnover, there could be a downside of that. There's like 400 A jobs out there and about 200 employees to do it. So
Yes. Commissioner Attorney?
The other thing that was brought up is that if we approve this, now, their cost would be little or none with the engineering costs with the new plant, which you can't beat that.
correct. And then we can always, when we apply for our permits, we can always say, hey, we no longer want to do that. We can't hold an A license, or if it doesn't work for us, we can always go back to the drawing board and say, hey, we don't want to do that. There's very, very little cost in it now, extremely small amount. We still could get continuous use out of some of our assets that we have at the wastewater treatment plant that we already paid for. So it would be a revenue source, if you will.
Right.
That's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Cole?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think it's a great idea. The fact that if we go this route, it's going to save our citizens money, and their water bill is not going to go up because of this. With extra income coming in from other areas being brought in, that's going to compensate you guys in not having to pay more on your water bill. And as you know, water bills can get quite high. This day and age, nothing's free, and we can't give it away free either. But with this program, this would really benefit. And the fact that we also can use some of the things that we already have to take care of this, so we don't have to build anything more. And the fact that we save money by doing this while we're building.
Commissioner Dan, did you have a comment or question?
I was under the impression that Mr. Hausen was going to be down here tonight to give his report and talk about this agenda item. I was led to believe he was going to be here. Was he contacted? Our sewer
He
clerk?
was, yeah.
And so he can't be. So we're
Yeah.
not making a decision tonight, correct?
Yes, we are making a decision. It says on the agenda, approve adding commercial waste to design plan of
No,
the
it's under new
wastewater.
business. It doesn't say, no, it doesn't say that. It's under new business. So it's actually under discussion if you want to go back to Robert's rules. This is way too an intense decision, and
But we
the
already
thing
had
about
a
it
work
is how
session.
much do you know about the smell?
We've already had a work session.
You had a work session, but that you've had one 20-minute work session. Now, come on, people. You don't have any idea. You haven't visited any sites. You smell money, so you want to go for this right away. You know, and as far as cutting costs, I got $135,000 in labor costs that could be cut out of the water and sewer bill. That's not even counting benefits. You know, and then you're going to put $35,000 in a truck for this guy, and you're not even going to use the budget truck. So come on, let's be realistic about jumping into this so quickly and not taking the time, spending the time, talking to the people in the know. You know, Bill Hausen should have been down here tonight. I was really looking forward to talking to Bill Hausen.
Okay, we had a work session that you did not attend. Am I correct
I know
in
as
that?
much about the water and the sewers,
Okay,
any of
I'm
yous
asking
together.
you if you
I
came
didn't
to the
need
work
attend
question-
the work session, and you
Okay, well, you
booked
had
it
an
for 6
opportunity to
o'clock.
ask your questions there. And if you had a scheduling conflict, you know you could have called and we could have rescheduled it later.
You
We talk
scheduled the
about
work
the
session
time.
at a commission meeting,
Yes.
knowing damn good and well I work 8,
Okay,
9, 10 hours
you know what?
a day.
You need to calm way down.
know,
We
don't
are
tell me
not
to
out
calm
to
down.
get you. I'm going to
This is a
tell you to
20-minute
calm
work
down.
session, and how
I
much
am the
money's
mayor.
involved? JT,
I'm
how
sorry.
much money's involved? I don't care if
You know
are
what?
the mayor.
I don't know.
JT, how
I'm
much
sorry.
money's
I'm the
involved in
mayor. You
this?
do not need to answer that. I'm sorry. You may have a seat. Thank you. I need a motion on the floor, please.
This is just pathetic.
Hang on just a
This is
second.
pathetic.
Commissioner Moore?
I'd like to make the motion to approve adding the commercial waste to the design plan of the wastewater treatment plant.
I'm going to need a second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Turney,
Yes.
Mayor Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Viancy.
No, and I'm going to file a civil suit against this commission
Motion carries.
for
Okay.
incompetence.
We're on to the next item of new business, approve purchase of a
tomorrow.
DPW truck, All-Tech quote. Okay. I'm trying to be patient here. Do not talk while I'm talking.
You
I will
interrupted
ask
me.
you
I
to
made
leave.
my
You know
vote.
why? You know why? Because
know
you
what,
can't
Brenda,
keep
what?
yourself controlled.
Self-control,
And
are you kidding me?
you cannot communicate with us in a way that is productive. And I've been patient for the better part of 2 years. I have been more than patient.
Get
and
on with
better-
the school mom stuff. Go on. Get it over
You know,
with.
insulting me is
You
not
know,
going to make
that's
this
exactly
better.
what you're doing.
Okay.
You don't need to
Well,
lecture
that's
me.
fine.
You're the mayor. Big deal. You were appointed.
Okay.
You know, big deal. You know,
Okay.
you just passed.
You
You,
know,
don't even
maybe
know
you
what the
need to
dollars
go.
and cents is on this thing.
Okay, I'm going to call a 5-minute adjournment, and I'm going to let Commissioner Viganski get a few minutes to get himself under control. We will reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you. We're going to approve the purchase of a DPW truck, All-Tech quote in the amount of $133,754.
Wait, I don't think we voted on, did we vote on that? Yes. Okay, all right.
Did you want to come up again, JT? Thank you.
Okay. That was so disruptive. Sorry.
I'll make the motion so we can discuss it. That's
Okay, well, we're
Robert's
going to hear
rules.
from JT first, if you
Yes.
want to hang on a minute.
Are you ready?
Go right ahead.
Well, this is kind of came full circle to We had high hopes that when our truck broke down and we were getting all the bad reports on our trucks, that we could turn around and either trade it in, which we couldn't trade it in because no one would take it, and that we could turn around and find a suitable used one. As our process continued, we found some, but then they moved pretty quickly. We didn't even get to them before they were sold or committed to. We found a vendor that was recommended by some of our local people, our local foresters, city residents. Michael Fisher, in fact, I don't know if you know that name. Lanny Fisher's his brother.
I do.
Okay, he made a few phone calls for me, and we found a couple in Indianapolis. Well, we went down there, and they were stickered pretty good for us at $85,000. And we sent Mike Baker and Chris Payne down there to check them out. We were pretty excited, to be quite honest with you. We get down there, we start looking them over, and we're finding tons of problems. We were finding that they were refurbished trucks, and basically they were getting ready. What Mike called them is they just put a really nice paint job on them, made them look very presentable. Made some hydraulic repairs, some frame repairs, some brake repairs, but we were spending good money on bad equipment. And he come back very uncomfortable, and he took several photographs of those of what he had found. As the chief and I looked those over, city manager and I looked those over, we kind of left each other a little bit bewildered. When I came in the next day, I said, hey, I want to hire your son or your daughter, and I want to put them 60 foot high in this bucket truck that's been refurbished, and I want to know how you feel about that. Immediately, that kind of resonated with us both, that we didn't want to send our employees up in a refurbished unit. I put out several quotes. Again, it's a two-part system. I said this earlier. There's the chassis, and then there's the actual lift itself. We found what would work best for us was the Freightliner. We have them right over in South Bend. They seem to be a durable chassis. It's either that or the Ford. What we're finding for the refurbs were all the Fords. You didn't find the Freightliners. And even talking with Chris a little bit coming in, he agreed with the Freightliner as well. We also agreed that the Alltech boom on it, and they're the other competitors, the Terex. And the reason we wanted the Alltech, its parts are accessible. They're next day shipped to us. It's what all of our foresters are using. I got quotes on different heights of the boom. I try to minimize all we could to get basically just what we needed. The high quote on that was right around $148,000. The low quote was what we're asking for tonight, which was 133, I think 750, somewhere around there.
That's close.
The quote, yeah. And that's with a Freightliner chassis and the Alltech boom on it.
Okay.
That's what year?
That would be 2000. That's brand new. That's 2018.
I asked that question too, Commissioner.
Okay.
So I asked a lot of questions, but then Bill came back and said it was a brand new truck.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Any other questions?
How are we going to finance this?
There was, Julie put out a packet. I do have a copy I can give to you, Dan, and I made extra copies as well.
Well, we got the thing 2 weeks ago, but we didn't get it in this packet. We're going to steal money from the Water and Sewer Board.
Excuse me, Commissioner. Julie did leave a couple pages at your station.
Oh, yep. Here it is.
Yeah, that's it, Dan.
Forestry truck financing, I think. Okay.
I ask again why this can't be the one truck we approved in the budget. And that's just a question out there for whoever feels like answering it.
I can tell you that I didn't ask for, we're presented as department heads, budget request way ahead of time, and this was never predicted to buy a new forestry truck.
Now, you knew about this truck before we did the budget, JT. Let's just be straightforward.
I can tell you that it wasn't asked for. I didn't ask for it.
But you knew this truck was in really bad shape. And,
Yeah.
you knew this truck was
There's
in
a
really
lot of
bad
things
shape.
in bad shape.
The thing
You
about
try
it
to
is
stretch
Bill
those
Marks
out.
actually told me that this came up before the budget. And the way this
think it
works
did.
down here is you knew you couldn't get 3 trucks. This is not on you. You're just Bill happens to be out of town, luckily, you know, but he knew he needed 3 trucks. He knew we wouldn't approve 3 trucks. We approved 1 truck, and then this truck takes a crap. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. And all I'm asking is the commission, rather than spend an extra $150,000, approve this truck on the budget truck that we budgeted for. And then we can just stall off on the 2 snow trucks. And I know, but this is the way we're doing this all the time. We're amending the budget nonstop. We had a $152,000 amended budget this year. You know, we take $135,000 in wages from the water and sewer, and we sit up here and cry about not wanting to raise water and sewer bills. You know, it's amazing. And then I get told that I'm making a mockery of a joke. It cracks me up.
Okay.
So get it over
Commissioner
with,
Cole?
Brenda.
Being as the 2018, what is the expectancy of life for this truck? How long is it going to last for us?
Yeah, what was our other one? 1991. Every bit of 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
And it's, you know, it's here again. It's an item that we need. If the commission decides not to buy a plow truck, then don't buy a plow truck. I'm just saying that however we need to spend our money that we have budgeted, and this looks like it's not coming out of our general budget, our budget cash, but this is a necessity. This is people's safety, and nobody in this. I wouldn't let your kids go in this. You know, or I call them kids because I'm over 50 now, but I wouldn't want to send anybody in a.
I agree.
Okay. I need a Commissioner Cole?
I'm just thinking, you know, we are a tree city, and we have one heck of a lot of trees, and I imagine that this type of truck, we can use it in other areas around town. And I think we need to bite the bullet and get this truck, because we really do need that truck. It's something that we need to have. I mean, there's no way getting around it.
Okay. Commissioner Viganski?
I'll make the motion so that nobody thinks that I'm unsafe. I've been an operator all my life. This is not about safety. This is about fiduciary obligation. So I'll make the motion, but this is a budget item. This comes out of the budget. This isn't this make-up stuff so that we have to buy 2 trucks. We're buying 1 truck, and that's my motion. It comes out of the budget. Not Julie's make-up stuff, not 2 trucks, not Bill's, well, you budgeted for it. That's my argument.
Okay, can I have a second? Okay, motion fails. Commissioner Moore?
I make the motion that we approve the purchase of the DPW truck LTEC quote, the amount of $133,754.
I'll support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Turney,
Yes.
Mayor Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Viancy,
Oh.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, and with that, we're at public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. Please make sure you say your name as well as your address.
I'm Randall Pitt,
Hi, Randall.
312 West Chicago. And I had quite a few things, but since Bill isn't here, I'll keep most of them. But there is one that probably applies to Pat Moore, Commissioner Moore, and that is the subject was potholes. And there's 2 places in town that have repeatedly demonstrated the ability to grow potholes. Mm-hmm. One of them is out by the River Street approach to the bridge over the St. Joe, and there's a dip. This really isn't what I was going to talk about, but there's a dip, and water collects in there. There's no drainage.
At that same location, I'm sorry, or is that a separate location? At the same location?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still.
Okay.
The second one is really for Pat Moore's interest, and maybe she's got it covered. But first of all, there's a Lions gathering at the North River, Redbud River Park, where the boat launch is, at the end of the month, and there will be quite a lot of people, including more cars probably than the parking, to go up the or down the river, I should say, take part in a fundraising effort. And driving to the launch, you go through. First of all, you go on a blacktop road to get as far as the book depository, and then you go into an unmetalled road. And every year for the last few years, there has been giant potholes there. And when you look around, you see what the terrain is like. There's a moccasin bluff up above Redbud Trail, and then so it's pouring water down towards the river from the bluff. And while the water is dammed up by the particular curve of the road, there's still hadn't been rained for a little while. There's still standing water beside the road. Probably, I didn't stop to see if there were any mosquitoes there, but there could well be, since it looks sort of rather old water. But we need to put a drain or drains across the road so that the water can keep going on down to the river. And until we do that, patching will not do anything really permanent. So I'm an engineer, but I'm not a particularly road engineer, but I understand that water falls downwards. And so it comes down off the hill, backs up behind the road, and then washes stuff away. And of course, probably in the wintertime, which is when most potholes form, is when the water in the soil freezes, it expands because the ice expands, and then in the spring it shrinks again and leaves room for stuff to slop around, and so finish up with a pothole, and you carry it out. And the ones there now, probably you have to shift gear to take your trailer towards the launch. So I missed the park improvement meeting that Bob had. Unfortunately, there was something else the same night, so I didn't hear what the plans were for that park, which should be a jewel in our crown, really. It's an excellent park. I talked to Marcy McClough about it some while back, if there would be any funds available for doing things for boat launches on the St. Joe River, and she said, well, you have to present a case, or blah, blah, blah. So I didn't, she was interested or glad to hear that somebody was working on it. My 3 minutes is probably up.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what Commissioner Moore has got in mind for it, but
would you mind staying after and speaking with me? That park is near and dear to my heart. Would you mind? Are you able to stay after to speak with me for a few minutes about that park? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Randall.
thank you.
Okay. Next, Commissioner Turney.
Dale Turney, 801 Ottawa Court. Madam Mayor, thank you. Fellow commissioners and fellow citizens. Tonight I'm here to talk a little bit of family history and a biography of Kim Orjuri Goodling. Why? Why is because she is part of the problem that's going on with the immigration, which has gone full circle, taking the kids away from parents. And Buchanan is involved. The state of Michigan already has this information about kids being here. And who is Kim? Kim was my sister-in-law. She died last week in California, and she was born in a Japanese internment camp in 1942. A little history. She was born to a second-generation Japanese family, U.S. citizens, okay? He had a lawn service, pardon me if I break up a little bit, and lost it the first time to the Depression. Through hard work, he got his business back. Of course, in 1942, the government took his business and his home and his pregnant wife with Kim, and they were put into an internment camp. Not in California, but in Oklahoma. Because they spoke fluent English and could write English, they informed the other Japanese people in the internment camp not to sign those letters that this government wanted to do. Unfortunately, they moved them again. They became the Japanese no-nos. If you want to find out more about it, Google it. So they were moved again. So the first 3 years of her life, she was in Army barracks, barbed wire with machine guns on them. But they kept those families together, not like they're doing today, which is a shame and very un-American. However, Mr. O'Jury got himself together and got his business together for a third time. During this particular time, my sister-in-law managed to get her PhD in arts and became a school teacher. She married my brother-in-law, Dave, who was an engineer for the Hughes aircraft for over 30 years and worked for the government, okay? He worked on the Hubble telescope from the start to the end. Many years. He was a big part of that. Their children, Kathleen, has a PhD in literature. Her thesis was the Japanese no-nos. She writes for many magazines and papers. John, the middle son, he's a pharmacist with a big degree, and he's married to a Chinese lady. Jeff, the oldest son, he's currently in the United States Navy Reserves. He tried to be a pilot, but his eyes wouldn't let him. He tried to be a SEAL, but he got injured. My brother-in-law Dave was a rock for my sister-in-law because she was diagnosed in her late 30s with rheumatoid arthritis. So eventually that's what took her out of being a teacher because she couldn't be in the classroom. And that's what killed her. My brother-in-law Dave was a wonderful person. He was there at every moment for her. And I'm just so proud of my brother-in-law Dave, proud of my sister-in-law Kim. And remember, they were U.S. citizens, and this is what they did to them. I'm a little bit emotional about it because she was a very good person. He, my brother-in-law, was there at the very end for the last several months because she couldn't talk. He read to her. He spoke to her because she couldn't read because the rheumatoid arthritis hit her lungs. And that's what did her in. I just want to let you know that this immigration thing is terrible. It's un-American. It's worse because back then they said never happened again. It's happened again, and it's worse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for commissioner or public comment? Hi, Norma.
Or North Oak. Thank you, Dale. You're an immigrant. You pushed me out of my country. I used to be in Michigan. Citizens Band Potawatomi is now in Oklahoma. Don't tell me about your problems.
Okay. Anyone else for citizen comments? Okay, with that, we're going to go on to the city manager's comments, and I believe Deborah is going to speak on behalf of Manager Marks this evening.
I'm going to defer to Dina right away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
On April 9th commission meeting, you guys approved John Burke with Tactical Energy Group to do an evaluation.
Oh, of how we spend our energy, yes.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And City Manager Marks is asking that we have a work session on July 16th, that's next Monday, at 6 p.m. So John Burke from Tactical Energy Group can come and speak about his findings.
Okay, Commissioner Attorney?
Can we adjust that to 6:30 so that Dan could be able to make that meeting?
Sure.
Or
Or
is 6:30 too
what is-
early?
Right.
I'll make 6:30. It's a lot easier than 6 o'clock.
Would you prefer 7, though?
7 would be much better.
Could you see if the gentleman is available at 7 instead of 6? That would
Is
accommodate
this for a
all of us.
renewal, or do we have to?
He's going to explain his findings to us. Is that correct?
That
That's
is
what I thought
correct.
you said.
So,
That
Yes.
is my
Commissioner
understanding
Attorney?
that he will be giving his report
Oh,
about his findings in regards to the energy savings.
okay. Yes.
so we
Commissioner
should-
Attorney?
We should put it down for 7 o'clock?
Yes, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock?
And then can you let us know, can you confirm with us so we all know?
Absolutely.
That's Monday, what day?
It's next Monday, the 16th.
No, is
Okay.
it the 16th? Thank you. Okay. What else did Manager Marks leave with you?
In regards to the DPW building, we have a quote from Pearson's. And city manager has had conversations with Rick Flagel of Majority Builders. Majority Builders also has a pre-development service that we are waiting to receive a quote from. Then we can compare Pearson's and Majority Builders and possible select one to move us forward in that regards to the pre-development stages of the new building.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you asking for a work session on that too, or
No,
you're
this
just
is-
letting
no,
us know?
This is just a FYI.
Okay.
And then the second item the city manager had was that this week we will be seeking contractors to look at the Smith Street / Mill Race Culvert repair or replacement project that has been provided. You know, the information was provided to you last week. As soon as we have some feedback from the contractors, that will be shared with you for further discussion.
Okay.
And it also says JT may be able to provide additional information on the situation if you're here. Do you have any additional information, JT?
We did take quite a few photographs. What it is, it's a concrete culvert. It's dual concrete culverts. It was reported to us that there was a hole in the road as we started excavating it. We found that the hole was basically a hole in the culvert pipe through the mill race. As it rose, it came down, it was washing out underneath the road, so certainly there's been a cavity there that collapsed some of the road. It's a very small portion of the road. We did get that portion repaired. We went in with hydraulic cement, dug it up. We got that repaired. As we inspected further, minimized the flow of the mill race, we got in there, we're realizing, wow, every joint in here is bad. We don't know if it's repairable. That was our goal, is to make it repaired, or is it something that we need to move forward on and replace?
Okay. Is there anything else from the city manager?
I do not have anything else.
Okay.
That will be all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Time for commissioners' comments. Commissioner Cole, would you like to go first?
I really don't have anything other than we're preparing to open up the dog park officially, and it's really coming along well, and we've got our benches in the park area, and our chairman has been there sanding the new benches so they're nice and smooth and getting it ready to do some staining on them, so.
Great. Commissioner Moore?
No comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Norma, you made a little comment there a while ago, which wasn't too nice. Let me explain now. I want to explain one thing. My best man at the wedding, he's Sioux. Indian. Sioux Indian.
Deal.
Also, in my family, I have several cousins who are part Cherokee. So don't tell me about the Indians. I know all about them firsthand and all what happens to them. So I have a lot of Indians in my family. I just wanted to make mention of that to you, that you're stepping on my family. Don't do that. Okay.
Commissioner.
You're out of order.
Commissioner Viganski?
No, I still got more.
Oh, okay, yep.
I have one other comment here, which came from the Michigan Municipal League. Okay? There's federal assistance for Great Lakes cleanup may be in jeopardy. If I may read, Your Honor, from this?
Yes.
Okay. Trump proposed cutting the entire $300 million appropriation to the initiative earlier this year, but full funding was restored through the end of September in the recent congressional bill that Trump signed. However, the Great Lakes congressional delegation is gearing up for another budget fight to save the Great Lake Restoration Initiative in fiscal 2019 budget. The Trump administration has proposed cutting $300 million, approximately 90% of the fiscal 2019 budget. Michigan congressional leaders say the cut could represent a huge setback for cleanup efforts in the Great Lakes. Here's their final say-so.
Point of order, Your Honor. We had decided a long time ago that we were going to keep it to local politics and not stand on, we got into a pretty good fight when Mr. Trump got elected.
I believe that this is an issue that's pertinent to us as
How was it pertinent to us?
we're Michigan residents, and this is a Michigan issue, and it's coming from the Michigan Municipal League.
Wasn't the decision made to keep it local, though?
Commissioner Moore?
Not Michigan, not national?
Commissioner Moore?
And he's turning this into a national issue.
Commissioner Moore?
Point of information, there was discussion back over a year ago, and there was a controversy that came up, and some people drew that conclusion, but that is not our comments or our comments. And I personally do not feel that anyone else should be judging, as long as we're not using foul language and it's an appropriate comment.
Just remember that the
I
next
just-
time Your Honor interrupts me in my personal
I'm sorry.
comments.
Yeah.
then.
I-
That's where
Commissioner
I was
Moore,
going.
go right ahead.
Exactly where I
the
was
floor.
going.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And the situation was such that a comment was made, another comment was made, and then rebuttals were going back and forth, and then to minimize that, someone made that suggestion that we should just keep it local, but that has not been traditionally our practice, and even in Robert's Rules, tradition is part of the process. So, no, I would say he has every right to make whatever comment he has to inform the rest of the commission.
Okay, Commissioner Attorney, you may continue.
Thank you. And again, this is from the Michigan Municipal League. This is not from me.
Yes, I understand.
Their final paragraph is, the Michigan water resources are a fragile driver of the state's economy, producing hundreds of thousands of jobs. Hundreds of communities in the state depend on the Great Lakes to support their critical tourism-related businesses. A 2015 report by the Michigan Economic Center found that 962,000 jobs and nearly $16 billion of economic activity from tourism, manufacturing, farming, and university research were connected to the state water reserves. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Viganski?
It just seems awful funny that 4 commissioners can say whatever they want to. If Mr. Vianski starts to say anything, the mayor even interrupts me and calls herself out of order. This is not your personal soapbox, Dale, and I mean, I feel for anybody, but this is not a political realm. We've got problems where we're spending money that we shouldn't be spending, but we're not spending any time on them. We rush through in 20 minutes in a work session. You know, the Japanese, I lived right next to a camp in Wyoming. I was out there in the Shoshone and Arapaho nations. You know, we've all got some relationships somewhere. You know, the U.S. government does some really crappy things to everybody. The thing about it is I'm losing my voice. The whole point of what I'm trying to make tonight, though, is the DPW knew about this truck. Bill knew about this truck before the budget. He wasn't, we discussed, I mean, after going through the DDA budget with the DDA, you know, that's really how you cut a budget. And we as commissioners are falling down. None of us deserve this job at all. You know, and hopefully in November, they'll throw us all out. You know, 3 of us for sure, and then get rid of the other 2 afterwards. So, you know, if you don't get out there and vote, you're gonna deal with this nonstop. there's $135,000 that comes out of your water and sewer bills to pay 50% of her salary, 25% of his salary, 25% of her salary, 25% of Bill Marks' salary, and 8% of DPW. That's not counting, that is not counting unemployment insurance, workman's comp, what they call fringe benefits, mandatory taxes. And then we just borrowed $35,000 from the water and sewer. We're going to be asking for a 10% water and sewer increase, but we won't make cuts from what we're taking from the water and sewer so that we can build. And as far as the water and sewer plant, I really wanted to spend a lot of time on finding out, I mean, a cesspool is a cesspool, but do you want a 200,000 gallon cesspool out there in your backyard? Now, this stuff coming from the breweries might stink real bad, because the problem with it is the bacteria has to be treated. It's different bacteria than what's in the sewers. And I didn't attend the work session because it was scheduled for 6 o'clock. And this is right down my alley. I spent 17 years in the oil patch. Tanks, making stuff work, making stuff slippery, making stuff go down the hole so stuff comes out of the hole. So I know exactly what they're talking about out there. Bill Hounsen was supposed to be down here tonight. Bill Marks told me he would be. I don't want to listen to JT about what's going on in the sewer plant. Not at all. Not at all. That's the end of my comment. And Dale, I really wish you wouldn't argue with, I really wish you wouldn't argue with people in the public about that. I mean, it's just way too close to the soul.
Okay. With that, I'd like everyone to know that Pam is retiring from the police department. She has been our administrative assistant there after 30 years of service. And on July 12th, from 12 until 1, there's going to be an open house up at the Redbud City Center. I shouldn't say up at, over at the Redbud City Center. If you're not familiar with the Redbud City Center, it's the former senior center. It's right next to the Common. The public is invited. We are hosting a potluck. So please come and thank Pam for her service. I'm sure she would love to see people, even if you just give her a handshake and wish her luck. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'm going to get to that. I'm sorry. I have a list. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
The open house, it is cake, I believe.
Oh, it said a potluck on here. Well, you can show up and there might be a potluck. There might be cake. Okay.
Potluck was employees before that.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
public's
When's the
invited for
cake part? I'm sorry. When is the community invited? At 1? Okay, I'm sorry. The part for the public at large, apparently the actual celebration from 12 to 1 is for employees. So come anytime after 1. Sorry about the mix-up. And then I want to also have you get on your calendars Tuesday, August 7th, from 6 until 9 is our National Night Out. And the National Night Out is kind of like the Buchanan Big Block Party. And there's all sorts of things for you to do there and meet our police officers and have food and fun. And they have lots of activities for the kids. I believe the Little Bucks Bookmobile will be there giving away books. One Buchanan will be there talking about what they have to offer the city. Please come support National Night Out. The police department puts a lot of thought and effort into that. And then I think everyone should know about this, and if you are free this Wednesday, there is talk at the county level of changing our transportation system. Right now, if you look on your tax bill, you contribute money to Dial-A-Ride. And the county is working as a whole to combine Dial-A-Rides across the county to make it easier for people to get from one end of the county to the other and also out into the rural areas. They have been doing a study, and I believe that the study is complete. You can write this down. on Wednesday, July 11th, from 8 until 9:30 a.m. at the Connexus Building at 499 West Main in Benton Harbor. There is going to be an informational meeting about what they have discovered. And if you would like to stay after the meeting and look at my flyer, you're more than welcome. It's for the public, and since you pay taxes into Dial-A-Ride, I feel strongly that people from Buchanan should come to this meeting and find out more about that. So make sure if you're available and you'd like to look at this, I will leave it right here next to my gavel. Come on up, and I'm going to try to make it to the meeting because I feel Dial-A-Ride is a big asset to our community, and if there's going to be talk about combining with other Dial-A-Rides, I would like input from our community in this process. If you don't show up, then your voice isn't heard. So if you can join me, and I'll talk to you afterwards, Norma. And then as the nice gentleman in the back, Bill Norton was a former commission member. He passed away earlier this week. Did any of you have the privilege of working with him? Yes. Would you like to say anything, Pat?
Well, he participated with a lot of the little trips that we were required to take. I remember we went up to Kalamazoo, and there was a MML, a function there, so we all went together as a group, and he used a lot of time on the Planning Commission as well. So he was able to use his experience on the ambulance and the fire department and a lot of community involvement, which he had done for many, many years, and coalesce them together to, serve here as a commissioner. So I appreciated working with him. He was a smart guy and always had something good to say.
And we'd like to extend our condolences to him as his family as well. Okay? All right.
I was also with Commissioner Norton on the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. He worked with the farmers market, and I tell you what, that man dove in with both feet and became a much partner within the market. I mean, he was helping put up tents. He helped take tents down. He was very concerned about the market. He cared about the market. He was really there to make sure that the market had gone forward. And I'm sure there are many other things that we didn't know about, but he was very concerned about our city and town. And it was sad to hear that he had been unable to beat the cancer, and he was a really good person.
And he will be missed, so thank you
Yes.
for that. Okay, and with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.